Brandon Bryan here, Red Tree Builders, giving you in this video what my tips are for finding the right neighborhood for yourself and some secrets when you're coming looking for land that I've learned over the years. Before I was a home builder, I worked for a developer selling land in a community and did that for a few years for a few different developers. And then come the recession, same thing happened. Spent a few years working in some other communities selling land as well. What that's been able to do is give me a unique perspective of what you're looking for when you're buying a land for a neighborhood itself, a community, what have you. So here's my list of tips for you. Number one, this is my, if you're listening to nothing else, I would think this is the one. You've got to get out of the car. What I've learned is that you'll learn, you'll feel, you'll hear things that you'll never do in a car. So when looking at land, a lot of people will just drive by, do drive-bys. What I tell everybody, here in Asheville, surrounding Western North Carolina areas, there's a couple times you want to come. Ideally, you come in the winter. That doesn't always work with schedules, but why would you come in the winter? It's because that's when everything's dead. You can really see into the property. You can see if you'll see a neighbor's house. Is there something through the trees there that you actually didn't even know that was there? I've heard it so many times. I didn't know that was there. That could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. But the winter time, when the leaves are down, that's the worst it's ever going to look. But you want to see what kind of views you have, what the neighborhood really feels like. If that isn't possible, which it not always is, I highly recommend that you come early in the morning. See where the sun rises. See what kind of activity is around in that neighborhood in the early mornings. 7 o'clock in the morning, 8, got to get out of the car, walk around. Number two thing, come at night. This would be right at dusk, maybe at night. Walk around the neighborhood, see how safe and secure you feel there, how well lit it is. One time we were building a house for somebody, and they had bought this lot, and I don't think they'd spend a ton of time on the piece of land, and I think that's very common. You come, spend a couple hours, maybe a couple of times, you purchase it. We were working on the house, had it framed, and I was there. It was getting dark, actually about nighttime, and there was a light all of a sudden just shine through the whole house. Little did we know, and had we paid any attention, there was a power pole there, but it had this mega LED light that was shining there, and made no sense that it wasn't even on the street. It was in the back of the property, but it lit up the place. Man, it was major. So they ended up having to spend about 6 months trying to get that light taken down, give a reason to the power company. It was all sorts of issues, and it was right out where all the big windows for the view was. Things like that. You can also get a sense of your community and your neighborhood. Maybe it's not even in a gated community. Maybe it's just like where I live. It's just on a street. But you see, you get to meet people. You can ask questions. You see if people are walking their dogs. Is there kids playing? But again, I've found that just being able to figure out where the sun's setting, it helps with placement of the house. A lot of the logistics of that nature. One of the other things that I love doing, and this may not be your jam, but it's my jam, even before looking at a particular lot, we'll look and I'll run in the neighborhood. I love running, and it tells me more about that neighborhood in a 3 to 4 mile, just going up and down the streets. You figure out the amount of traffic, sidewalks. You'll get to know a lot of people when you're running. What I've ventured most time to do is, if someone tells me, hey, go look at this piece of land for us, or hey, do you know where some good pieces of land is? I found some great pieces of land for sale that I don't think you would have known that was out there for sale, because land signs typically are hard to find. A broker puts them out there. A week later, somebody hits them where it's been mowed, and you just don't know that. But running, again, it's one of those things you're like, man, like this neighborhood has all this cool corners, this good, unique ability about it. Maybe you just walk. Maybe you bike around it. But I highly suggest that. The last thing, which totally makes sense and probably is a no-brainer, is talking to the neighbors. And when I think that interaction, it is creepy to go during the middle of the day and knock on people's doors. What I found what works great in the evenings, closer to the nighttime, maybe not knocking the doors then, but you do actually see if there's community. Is there people congregating? Is there people on front porch that you can speak to? And you'll find a lot about who your neighbors are, and that makes a neighborhood. So, hope that was helpful. More in-depth videos will be coming more about land and my experience with communities and land purchases and going that way. But just to get a sense for a community, hopefully you got a good idea of some secrets there that and tips that have been beneficial.